Hey everyone, Montoya here. Bioware updates us on Anthem, which we have not looked at or spoken about in a very long time. I'm curious to see what they have to say. Let's dive right into their blog post and see what's happening with Anthem 2.0 or whatever they're deciding to call it. So those of you who are newer might not know about Anthem. Anthem was a game which broke many of our hearts. It was going to be the Destiny 2 killer. It was going to be the next big thing out of Bioware, and it fell short in many places. So what they did was that we're going to actually, not going to say remake the game, but they put a skeleton crew to essentially keep working on Anthem and make improvements to it. And this blog post here, for the first time, gives us a bit of insight to exactly what they are going to be doing. To give you a little bit of background before we start reading through this, I'll explain my biggest issues with Anthem. Now, first of all, I don't poop all over Anthem. I think Anthem had a lot of good things going for it. I think the graphics were great. I thought the level design was amazing. I thought the flight mechanics were smooth and flawless. I thought the combat was pretty decent. There were things which were good. The things which were bad in Anthem, the reason why Anthem is no longer on my computer and the reason a lot of people stopped playing Anthem was the loot system was bad. The game was fundamentally broken in many aspects and also the end game. Once you completed the campaign, which itself was kind of meh, you ended up in the end game, and all the end game were these two strongholds, these dungeons, which you went and you fought the Spider Queen, and that was it. Then they added the third stronghold, which was basically the end game boss that you keep on fighting over and over and over again. There was no end game, and content updates were far and few in between. A lot of people said, listen, between the terrible loot drops and the lack of end game, what is there to do? And people left, and that's what essentially happened. So they're addressing a couple of issues here, and let's see what they say. Satisfying loot experience. All right, what are you going to do about it? A good play experience depends on loot system being extensible and robust, and a lot can go wrong. A lot did go wrong. We fell short here. They admitted, they realized there was a problem, which everyone was screaming about on the subreddit, saying you guys have a serious problem with your loot. And why they didn't fix it, or why they couldn't fix it on the fly, I don't know. But they're addressing it now. So here we go. We fell short here, and we realized that building something from the new ground up is going to be required, starting with taking a long look and understanding the best class of the many great games inspire us. Based on this research, along with your thoughts and feedback, aka the relentless bitching at us on social media, we planned at some high-level goals and have some changes we're going to try. All right. Respect your time. And the reason why they put that up there in capitals was this was the biggest complaint from many people, including myself. And I posted about this many times. I said, if I have an hour or 2 hours free in the evening and I'm going to go run your stronghold, your endgame dungeon, I want to know that at the end of my gaming session, I am leaving with something better than what I had going in. But this was not the case. This was not the case. You would go play for an hour. You'd go play for 2 hours. You would go in and put in 10 hours for the week or for the day even, and not leave with anything better than what you started, because the odds of something you wanted and needed dropping were so minuscule. People just said, well, look, you're not respecting my time. I'm giving up. So they put this in capitals, respect your time. Thank you. Increase the frequency of loot drops. Most important thing. Who remembers the one time, there was an hour or two of this one day, where they turned on the tap and the enemies were dropping good loot all the time and then it disappeared? I missed it, but there were people there and saying they got these amazing drops for that 1 hour of the day. So they were testing some kind of system. Excuse me. And why they decided not to go and continue doing it, I don't know. I mean, they may have their reasons, but they failed. Loot is more viable more often. All items are better, more competitive. There's still a chance to get something exceptional. Good. All loot rarities have strategic value through progression. Good. Embrace choice in capital letters. This is perhaps the main reason that I stopped playing Anthem, is because I maxed out the different javelins, the robots. And there was one I wanted to max out in a certain way, the Colossus, which is the big javelin, the big robot. And I wanted to get a certain minigun on it because I wanted to go in rooms, spray everyone down. That is the build I wanted. I had zero agency on that. I could not head in any certain direction. It was completely random. The chances of me getting the exact weapon I wanted for the build I wanted were minuscule, less than 1%. So now they're saying, all right, we hear you. Embrace choice. You can pursue specific loot without relying on randomness alone. Mazel tov. All right? Because if I want a specific build that requires a specific weapon, I'm going to know there's a path for me to get that. That is something Anthem don't have. And perhaps the reason I finally left was that there's no way I can move this character in the way I want. I'm leaving. And I did. So now they're saying, yes, there's a way to do that. You can modify your loot, include re-rolling inscriptions and leveling up items. Now, I believe these two issues of re-rolling inscriptions and leveling up items are actually in the game right now. I've been away from Anthem for a while, but I believe that system is currently in the game. Create a rewarding loot experience. Loot feels exciting and more noticeable when it drops, right? And is celebrated when collected. Yes, rare enemies, walking treasure chests, create exciting moments, get a burst of loot all at once. Alright, so here is a small issue that you older Anthem players ran into, and that is you're going into an end-game stronghold, and you're in a team of 4, it's you and 3 randoms, and you go in and you start shooting things, and one guy or 2 guys get good drops in the first minute. What do? They leave the game, and they go back to Fort Tarsus where you start, where then the loot opens up and you can see what you got, because they go, hey, I got good loot, I'm leaving, I'm going to see what I got, which leaves you alone or with one person in an end high-level stronghold, unable to complete it or taking extra long to complete it now because the guys you're with left to see what they got. Now they're saying you will shoot, this guy's shooting what's called a Fury. So you'll shoot the bad guy dies, drops the loot, now the gold shiny ones are the good ones here, he picks it up, and right away you can see what you got was Jara's Wrath, which ironically enough is what they showed us in the demo of the game in the very beginning. So cool, you've got Jara's Wrath. Now what can you do with it? Keep it accessible and immediate. So instead of having to leave the mission and leave behind a bunch of people you're playing with to go see what you got, you can now access what you got right away. It sounds very obvious. I mean, why was this not in the game from the very beginning? It makes perfect sense, but I guess they're doing it now. So reveal and equip the loot right away. And in revealing and equipping the loot right away, you got to see, what did I just get? So for example, right now we are running a sledgehammer, which is a light machine gun that puts out 254 power. But you just got a drop, which is called a glorious result, which puts out 262, which is higher. Being able to see that right away makes perfect sense. So a lot of common sense changes coming in. Good. So on the topic of reliability and equipment of rewards, each item has an inscription budget based upon power and rarity. Now the inscriptions are the little perks which a weapon gives you. So look at the glorious result up there. The text might be a little small, but it says 119% resupply drop rate. That's one of the inscriptions, meaning if you shoot a bad guy and he drops ammo, if you hold this gun in your hand while that's happening, there's a 119% chance that he will drop more ammo. Now the problem was there were useless inscriptions on weapons. The second point here, no more useless items because they were missing must have inscriptions. So let's say you finally get that end game weapon you wanted, but the inscription on it sucks. For example, you got a weapon that puts out electrical damage, but the inscription says 10% bonus to fire damage. Well, you're not putting out fire damage. That's a useless inscription, and the loot tables were plagued with these useless items. They said no more useless items. They're finally changing that to good. Exceptional items are about getting the exact type of bonuses you want instead of maxing values on every bonus. Good. I'm curious to that. So if you're doing a melee build and you need something which gives you a bonus to your melee, now that item will be sure to do that. I'm not sure how they're going to do that, but at least they're focusing on that. Scale for the future. Your power cap can be easily increased and loot system scales accordingly. If you play Destiny 2, you'd understand what that means. For example, you run into a dungeon and you are level 500 and the enemies are dropping level 1 loot. Doesn't make any sense. So now saying loot system will scale as it should. Advanced telemetry data allows us to identify trends and make meaningful balance changes. That's interesting because say you focused on making a electric damage build. Will their telemetry say this is what's been improving in this character? He's obviously scaling up his electric damage, and will they drop something which helps that? That'll be awesome. That'll be a game changer, because if you get rewarded with your character for the thing that you actually want, that makes the game. So definitely good changes. Other areas of exploration. In addition to loot and equipping, there are some really good improvements to the feel and type of items we are supporting. Gunplay is overall more responsive, with enemies reacting to hits near instantly with improved client-side prediction. I can't say I had too many issues with enemies not reacting, but obviously their telemetry saying there was. So they're improving on that. We're looking to the role of melee items and builds, and being able to spend skill points to unlock new types of equipment synergies. One of the things I'm most excited about is seeing the awesome new weaponry concepts in our factions. Now, a big complaint was the laziness of the weapon models, because you had a level 1 gun and then a good level 50 gun would drop that looks exactly the same as your level 1 gun. Maybe the grip, instead of brown, was light brown. The level of laziness in weapon variation was astounding. Destiny 2 does this right in that when you get a new weapon, it's shiny, it might be gold, the color's different, the weapon is unique in every sense. In Anthem, there's no difference between the highest level weapon and the lowest level weapon. It's the same model. It's the exact same model, maybe some slight color variation. That's all they did. So introducing new weapon models, definitely something they should have paid closer attention to. I mean, it's not critical to the gameplay, but when you do land that good drop, you want it to be unique, and they're paying attention to that. We see some pictures of what looks to be a shotgun, different kind of models. So yes, very good. Glad to see that happening. And that basically wraps up what they did the post on. So the biggest problem, look, these are all good things. This is everything players complained about. And they said, we've heard you. Here are the biggest issues. Respecting your time. Embracing your choices. The biggest issues, they nailed them right here. Now the question is, can they bring back players? I can tell you that I will, when they make these changes, I'll reinstall it and try it out. My big concern is that they've lost a lot of the excitement and a lot of the initial player base. I'm hoping for Bioware. Listen, I want Bioware to succeed. I want to see Anthem be their version of Destiny 2, which they can just build upon for years to come. I really want to see that happen for them. I'm just concerned that a large portion of the initial player base has left and put this behind them and is never coming back. What are your thoughts, ex-Anthem players? Drop your comments down below. Please thumbs up this video because you love it so much, and subscribe if you enjoy this content. I'll catch you in the next one.